Okay, guys, yesterday, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson was reelected. Not smoothly, but he was reelected. The Senate was sworn in. Inauguration is in T-minus 16 days. We have work to do, and we have work to do now. We have 2 years until the midterms, 2 years until we get a chance to take back one of the houses, either House or Senate, one of the chambers of Congress. 4 years until we can take back the White House. There's work to be done. It is not an impossible task, but it is a hard one, okay? Especially given the map in 2026. It is not difficult, but it is impossible. But the work needs to start now. And so that brings me to highlighting today the DNC chair election. Why is this important? Honestly, who cares about the Democratic National Convention, am I right? But this is important because there's no leader of the Democratic Party right now. Who are you thinking of? Probably Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, Josh Shapiro. These people aren't really leading. They're not really taking charge. They're not really showing a strong vision, cohesive vision for where the future of the Democratic Party needs to go. And that is something that the DNC chair can and will provide. Now, I don't want to get too into the specifics of each of the candidates. I will make future videos on all of those, but I want to give my insight, my thoughts on where I think the Democratic Party should go, my vision for the future of the Democratic Party. And I want to do so highlighting, I guess, kind of our shortcomings and our failures. Because what better way to introspect and grow and change than to look on what we have failed on previously? That's the way that I live my life. Anyways, one of, I think, the most exemplary examples, I know, great English, of the Democratic Party being the Democratic Party, for lack of a better or a nice word, is the exclusive interview that the Kamala Harris campaign did with Pod Save America. If you guys follow my TikTok, you know I am not a fan of this interview. I have such a toxic relationship with this interview because I hate it so much. I hate what they say in the interview so much, and yet I watch it probably like once a week because I need to constantly remind myself, like, these are not the mistakes that we need to be making. These are easy mistakes that we can be fixing. These are not mistakes that we need to be making. And so now I need to share them all with you.
Quentin, you were there when that switch happened. How were you able, there was a 1 month period between the debate and when the president actually dropped out. Obviously, it seemed like dropping out could be a possibility. Were you able to do any thinking or planning in that 1 month period about what a race with the vice president looked like? Or did you just sort of start cold on that first day, the moment you got the call or the statement went out?
I mean, we started cold.
Wrong answer. That's the wrong answer.
There was no planning involved in any other candidates. I mean, we were
completely wrong. Try again.
Honestly in crisis management mode of keeping President Biden in the race, convinced.
Wrong. So wrong. Oh my gosh. Okay. Enough of that. This isn't just about the election, okay? Kamala lost. We did the postmortems. We don't need to rehash it. It's very traumatic. It's a very touchy subject for most of us. Okay, I'm not going to get into it, but this is an example of a bigger issue, which is Democrats need to get their head out their fucking ass, okay? You weren't prepping for a Kamala Harris campaign because why? It wasn't because no one was saying that Joe Biden should drop out. It wasn't like anyone wasn't pointing out his failures, his shortcomings, his low approval ratings, his shitty likability. Like, what? It wasn't like no one was talking about this. It wasn't like people on the left, independent media channels, progressives, whatever. We were all saying, after the debate especially, like, what the fuck is the party doing? Get him out of there. You not prepping for the obvious Kamala campaign that was coming is entirely on you choosing not to. Like, what? How am I supposed to feel bad for you when you're in a situation of your own creation? Like, I have no sympathy, and I think that you should all be fired. But we'll get to that in a second. A critique that I've heard is that Democrats need to be more back of the classroom, which I agree with. I think Democrats are very actually, like, that's how we sound. And it's kind of hard not to when the other side is just living in such a delusional state of reality. It's hard not to have a superiority complex over them when you know that you're living in facts and they're living in delusion. I get it. It's difficult. But this is next level. This is you entirely thinking that you know better, not just more than the right, but more than your own voters, more than your own constituents, more than your own base. And politics is most certainly not supposed to be voters appeasing the candidate. It's supposed to be the candidates or the parties working for the voters, appeasing the voters, which is something that the right understands that the left does not. in their rhetoric, if anything, not in policy, but in their rhetoric, the right is able to articulate, we are doing this for you. It's a lie, but they're able to get that across. The left will sit there and say, you don't need this because I say so. How does that make any sense? How is that supposed to pull in any voters? The only reason why they have all of these generic politician statements that don't appeal to literally anyone is because they poll well. But the reason that they poll well is because they don't appeal to anyone. Like, if you have something that appeases everyone, you appease no one because it appeases everyone. You know what I mean? Like, it's the most sweeping, the most generic statements that people can't relate to. Just like people can't relate to you saying, I'm going to create an opportunity economy. What does that mean?
But I do think that we really focused from the get-go on how she was different than everyone else, different than Joe Biden, different than Donald Trump. And at the end of the day, the choice was her versus Donald Trump. And at the same time, she was very clear that she was a new generation of leadership, but it wasn't just like a statement. It was, here's what I need to focus on. Her first policy announcements were economic, talking about housing, talking about lowering costs, understanding that people really didn't feel like things were progressing in the way that they wanted to, a la the right track, wrong track data, but how she brought her own point of view to thinking about housing, sandwich generation. That was probably her biggest applause line, one of the best testing things that we did. That wasn't a poll tested, let's work on this poll, this data to tell us this is the right issue we should go talk about. That was about her life and also understanding what people in the country were really.
Live on camera, breaking news. Democrat realizes for the first time that voters have hearts and are people. Like, what? We tried doing this thing where we based our policy off of the candidates and not just based off of these generic focus group tested things, and people really liked it. So then for the rest of the campaign, we didn't do any of that. And then we kept on doing the poll tested things. Even though people really liked this, we still kept on doing the poll tested things. And then we did nothing wrong because we were doing the poll tested things. And it's like, it's driving me crazy. These people are crazy. Because I know damn well these are the same people that are in that article talking about how Joe Biden would have won if he stayed in the race. I know. They're all living in the same delusional reality echo chamber. And it's just so hard to watch. And it's so hard to see. But hope is not lost. Because I really think that this is just a problem with the people. Like, I don't, as much as people think that this is like a systemic, like the Democratic Party enables this, whatever, I really think that this is a people issue because you have Democrats that are able to get out of this and they're all young and they're all cool and they're all hip. And you have the old fart Democrats that have literally no concept of people, have never probably left their house, haven't spoken to a real person outside of a focus group in like years. And these are all the people that are running the government right now. This is my proof. These people should be fired. Get them the fuck out of here. I'll show you my point in a sec.
For like 10 years.
I was there 4 hours and I had teeth in my mouth.
Sort of identified who sort of the voters were who moved at the end. How do you feel about the utility of some of that earned media stuff?
Yeah.
Does it now feel a little bit like we're just sort of talking to our own people all the time?
Yeah. And not even in terms of who the targets were, the persuadable voters, which were largely young men, they're not watching the evening news. They're not watching cable. They definitely do not watch 60 Minutes. So older voters, maybe that's why Vice President did a little bit better with senior citizens. But look, our background is doing lots of earned media through the course of our careers.
What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? Imagine if you went to your job and you did this. Hi, my background is exclusively in bartending. If you ask me to take a table, I don't know anything about that. Okay, I really don't. It's just my background is exclusively in bartending. I grew up doing invoices on paper. I had to manually check and manually count all of the boxes for the billables and then drop it off at all of my customers' houses. What the fuck do you mean? You want me to use this spreadsheet? That's a lot more complicated, a lot more innovative, and is a lot more effective, and will work a lot more better. Imagine if you tried to use this excuse in like the real world, like at a job. Like these people need to be fired. Imagine if you had a job, right? And you had a receptionist that was like, "Oh, I'm used to taking all of the phone calls by hand. Like I keep a phone log for all. You want me to use spreadsheets? I don't have any, even though it's faster and more effective and more innovative, and that's the way that the world is moving towards, and we're probably never going to go back to using call logs. So this skill is basically dead and useless. Even though all of that information exists and is out there, like I'm still not going to switch over to spreadsheets because my only experience is in doing phone logs. Like, what the fuck? What? Keep up with the world. Keep up with the world. If you cannot keep up with the changing political climate, get the fuck out of politics. Get out of politics. Get out of campaign management. If you cannot keep up with what is demanded of you in your job, Your job is to win elections. Your job is to help a party win elections. If you cannot go the places that need to be gone to win these elections, get the fuck out of you're doing a bad job. You should be fired. The fact that she acknowledges, you know, that the persuadable people were not the people that they were appealing to, were not the people that they were catering to, and then she still continued to cater and appeal to the people that they were, like, it's just, it doesn't make any sense. And again, this isn't just about the election. It's about the Democratic Party as a whole. I, personally, this is me trying to reach out to more young people that aren't that involved in politics, that are able to be influenced, that are able to be motivated to vote, that are able to participate in the Democratic, even if they don't vote Democratic, whatever. Just participate, get involved in civics, learn more about your local government, learn more about the federal government. Just everyone should learn more about everything always, is my personal stance on it. But it's clear that this media environment, this Democratic establishment, but it's clear, right, that these Democrats, this Democratic establishment is completely unprepared to handle the youth and Gen Z and the growing, changing political climate. Just completely unprepared. You know who is prepared? And this is not going to turn into an AOC 2028 diatribe, I promise. I am not one for AOC 2028. But AOC is one of our best communicators. It's just the fact of the Democratic Party. Okay, she does a really good job. 8.1 million followers on Instagram. Pretty impressive. Her Instagram lives, pretty popular. She's very effective. Her constituents love her. And importantly, she got a really significant percentage of her voters also voting for Donald Trump, which is, like, if you know the policy, complete opposites, just complete worlds apart. But that's just proof that voters don't care about policy, they care about rhetoric. So that's what we need to focus on. Wouldn't that have been amazing? Do you guys remember all of the Joe Biden impeachment inquiries? Or actually, no, they never had the balls to make an official one. It was just James Comer and his oversight committee just constantly having these hearings and constantly bringing in these witnesses, some of which are fake, some of which were bullshit, some of which were disproven, constantly bringing up these debunked claims over and over and over again, constantly releasing these statements over and over and over again. Just because what? Just because he wanted to show off to the voters, look, there's something to be done here. There's work to be done. There's something going on. There's something shady happening in the background. Can we imagine a world in which AOC was doing that to Donald Trump and to Republicans? Like, oh my God, like, I get so giddy thinking about it. Imagine AOC sitting at the ranking member position for this oversight committee and grilling people on their involvement to January 6th, grilling people on their involvement with the fake elector scheme, grilling people on sexual assault allegations, on sex trafficking, on child trafficking, on all of these different allegations that are being thrown around. Imagine AOC grilling them. Oh my God, it would have been a beautiful sight. But you know what we got instead? We got Jerry Connolly, who is, I think, like 73 and has throat cancer. Like, nothing against the fact that he has throat cancer. It's just like, why are these geriatrics that are sick and on the literal brink of death dictating policy for a future that they do not have any stake in? Like, sorry, you're not living with the repercussions of your actions. I am, okay? Call it confirmation bias, call it naivete, call it self-importance, okay? I think Gen Z is a key electoral demographic. It's like, in 2026, 2028, you're gonna get a fat portion of the electorate primed to vote for the first time. They've never voted before. They're primed to pick a party, okay? We need to be appealing to those, outreaching to those, engaging with those, and right now we are not. And we need to be making steps moving towards that. Nancy Pelosi, who last time I checked, Leader Hakeem's, last time I checked, we had a leader, Hakeem Jeffries. I don't know where the fuck Nancy Pelosi came from, why she's expending the little tiny smidgens of political capital that she still has and using it to fuck over AOC. Couldn't make... Who knows why it's happening? Who knows why Nancy Pelosi does the things that she does? Probably because Democrats have a history of punishing anyone that steps out of line.
But I think that there are a lot of times where if you're in the Democratic Party and you step out of line,
Yeah.
you get punished for it.
And that was what
Not
I was
by-
trying to say.
Thank you for being more direct, Quinn. Yes.
You get punished for it.
This is an insane thing for them to just be laughing so flippantly about when it's such an issue. Earlier in the interview, they made the same point.
But she also felt that she was part of the administration. And unless
Right,
we
that's right,
said
yeah.
something like, well, I would have handled the border completely differently, we were never going to satisfy anybody. So we did talk about things like she's a different generation. Best ideas are from common sense ways to get, we were trying to tell a story.
Can I ask this why not a specific issue? Is it something she was unwilling to do? You worried it would feel disingenuous or?
Because she felt like she was part of the administration. So why should she look back and cherry pick some things that she would have done differently when she was part of it? And she had tremendous loyalty to President Biden. And, if we had said, just imagine this. You've been on plenty of campaigns. Imagine if we said, well, we would have taken this approach on the border. Imagine the round of stories coming out after that of people saying, well, she never said that in a meeting.
Like, the idea that Kamala Harris would make a statement saying something like, I don't know, we should have been harsher on the border. And then what, Democrats like Joe Biden would come out and leak to the New York Times, oh, in a closed door meeting, Kamala Harris didn't say this about the border. Like, what's the fear? Is the fear that your own party is going to come out and say, like, and expose you for lying? Or is it that the Republicans are gonna expose? Because I don't think that we should be scared about the Republicans releasing any stories about anything. They're not credible on anything. And if Republicans are the ones releasing these stories, then that's just like the most blatant. That's just political. That's just how the election goes. So I don't accept any of these answers as to why she didn't distance herself more from Joe Biden. So like what she just said is that if Kamala Harris had come out and been like, oh, I wish that we were more harsh on the border, right? That a flurry of Democrats would have come out and been like, no, she never said that. She never said that in the meeting. Why are we worried about our own party like turning against us in such a public, like, that's so bad. That's so bad. Especially right before an election, you can't get your party to like get in line a little bit. And I'm not saying that we have to just be sheep and just follow whoever they tell us to follow, right? But it's also like you literally are the Democratic officials. Like, you literally are the sheep. Like, low-key, like, if anyone was to be a sheep of just like get in line in the interest of the party, it would be you. Like, it would be most justified to be you. So why you couldn't control your own party leaking stories? Because why? Because you.
But I think that there are a lot of times where if you're in the Democratic Party and you step out of line,
Yeah.
you get punished for it.
And that was what
Not
I was
by-
trying to.
Which is exactly what happened to AOC, right? She tried to be the youngest representative to be a ranking member ever, and she got punished severely. Not severely, but like, she got snubbed by Nancy Pelosi in favor of Jerry Connolly. And this is what I think happened to AOC. Like, there's really no other reason for her to not have gotten the ranking member position when she reportedly had the votes before, and then Nancy Pelosi does whatever magic juju she does in the background, and all of a sudden she doesn't have the votes. It's crazy that she got punished for wanting to do what was better for the voters, because that was a huge missed opportunity now for the Democrats, and that's a huge line of communication and it's just a huge missed opportunity that we have now. There's a lot of good people in the Democratic Party. There's a lot of good raw political talent in the Democratic Party, okay? There is, I promise. You just have to find it. You just have to weed through it. We're gonna do it together. We're gonna highlight them together. We're gonna focus on uplifting and promoting the Democrats that we want to see and shitting on the Democrats that we don't. So fuck Nancy Pelosi. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, get these old farts out of power. We're not going to get any type of like term limit or Congress reform or age limit in Congress for the next 4 years. So the best we got is is us, is the media, is people constantly talking about it, people constantly making sure that no matter how much they try and put their fingers in their ears and let the Democratic establishment know that we don't like them, that we don't want them, that we don't want these old farts choosing everything, that we need more young people like AOC, we need more vibrancy like Josh Shapiro, we need more relatability like Wes Moore. These are the people that we need to be promoting. Get Nancy Pelosi out of power. Sorry. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, all of these establishment, like Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, all of these campaign staffers, the establishment that has just completely failed to keep up with the new wave, the new political era that we're living in. They need to get out. They just do. A political party is supposed to win. These people are stopping us from winning. It's harsh, but it needs to get done. And so this February 1st, I'm looking for a DNC chair that is articulating my same sentiments or something similar or something very close. We're obviously not going to get there in one round, but we'll vote for who'll get us there the closest, right? Oh, I heard this great analogy. That is, we're not taking a taxi to the destination. We're taking a bus to get us to the closest spot there. And that's just the way that we got to look at it.